Hello students, myself Dr. Jalpa Bhatt, Professor in OBGY Department. Our today's topic is normal labor. So by definition, what is labor? What do we understand by labor? Labor is a process by which the products of conception are expelled out of the uterus. When it goes normal, natural or physiological, normal labor, we call it eutausia. That is vertex presentation. It is at term and without any complications, as I suggested. It is almost always an retrospective diagnosis because we always say the trial of labor. So if it goes well, then we call it a normal labor. So now these suggest what do we mean by dystocia. It is an abnormal labor. There can be faults in passage, faults in power or fault in passenger, which leads to dystocia. Passage means pelvis. There can be problem in pelvis. There can be problem in power, uterine contractions, or in the position of the baby, that is a passenger. For years together, there is a query that how does labor onset occurs? All the obstetricians think that if we know that, then our practice would be more easier, would be a daytime practice, right? So there are many theories for that. One is the mechanical theory. It is suggested that when uterine distension occurs at a proper level, then labor initiate. Stretching of lower segment occurs by presenting part. That means if there is engagement of fetal head or presenting part occurs, that stretches the lower segment and that can initiate the labor. Mechanical stretching of the cervix initiates the labor, that is called Ferguson reflex, or stripping of the fetal membranes also initiates the labor. There are certain biochemical theories that prostaglandins are responsible, oxytocin may be responsible, estrogen and progesterone, some inflammatory mediators leads to onset of labor, or fetus may be the anchor who decides when to start the labor. How the prostaglandins leads to onset of labor? They are the final common pathway for onset. They are present in decidua, placenta, membranes and liquor, and synergistic with oxytocin, they inhibits the calcium binding, increase the intracellular calcium and leads to formation of gap junctions between the myometrial cells. Which are the things which supports this theory that increased production of prostaglandins occurs at term. Prostaglandin synthetase inhibitor like indomethacin, they surpasses the myometrial contractions. Exogenous prostaglandins if given, it stimulates the contractions. Premature rupture of membranes, artificial rupture of membrane, they induces the labor because of the increased production of prostaglandins. Role of oxytocin has been discussed. Like oxytocin inhibits the calcium binding, so it increases the intracellular free calcium, and concentration of oxytocin receptors also increases at term, leading to more of this intracellular calcium. Role of oxytocin in induction is still unclear because augmentation is widely used in oxytocin is used widely for augmentation, but for induction sometimes failure occurs. Estrogen and progesterone theory, the fall in progesterone level and increase in estrogen level leads to the ratio of estrogen progesterone getting altered. It stimulates the prostaglandin synthesis, and final common pathway, again prostaglandin appears, which induces myometrial contractility. Certain inflammatory mediators like cytokine, platelet activating factors and endothelins are also being proposed as a initiation of labor, and they again initiate the labor by prostaglandin synthesis. How the fetus? What is the role of fetus? Fetal pituitary stimulates the adrenals. It increases the fetal cortisol secretion and inhibits the progesterone synthesis, which again leads to alteration in the estrogen progesterone ratio and leading to prostaglandin synthesis, again final common pathway which initiates the labor. Prolonged pregnancy occurs in case of anencephaly is being proof of role of fetus in initiation of labor. After the initiation of labor, let us deal with the stages of labor. Normal labor is usually divided in 4 stages. The first stage comes from onset of labor till complete cervical dilatation. Here we see that there is cervix is completely closed. At the onset of labor, there are true uterine contractions, passage of cervical mucus along with blood. From there till complete 10 cm dilatation stage is divided into latent phase and active phase, and it is considered as the first stage of labor. Now from complete cervical dilatation till the expulsion of fetus, this time is called second stage of labor. The third stage is time from expulsion of fetus till the expulsion of complete placenta. And fourth stage is 1 hour postpartum, that is post delivery. So labor is divided in 4 Friedman's curve to understand this: the acceleration, maximum slope and deceleration phase. Now, which are the events which occur in first stage of labor? In first stage of labor, the most important event is uterine contractions. Patient feels the uterine contraction or pains. The second is cervical dilatation. The third event is shock, cervical mucus mixed with the blood. Fourth event is the formation of lower uterine segment. Fifth is the descent of fetus. And sixth is the formation of bag of waters, that is membrane being stretched and bag of water forms. So let us take the events of first stage one by one. The first one is the uterine contractions. Braxton Hicks contractions occurs in the 9th month. They are usually painless and they do not cause dilatation of the cervix. And when their intensity and duration increases, patient can also feel that, and then they are being called uterine contractions. So duration lasts for 30 to 90 seconds and frequency of contraction is 3 per 10 minutes. Then actual labor pain start. Relaxation between contraction occurs. At this time, fetus gets oxygen through placenta and cord. Because of the uterine contraction, there is little less amount of blood to the baby, and here in relaxation fetus recovers. It prevents the fetal hypoxia. Gradually there is fundal dominance. How? We know the quality of uterine muscle fibers, that is called retraction. So as the uterus contracts, the length of the muscle fibers of the uterus does not come to actual length during relaxation. Gradually they retract. This is called retraction. And there is fundal dominance and opening up of the lower segment. So upper segment contracts and retracts, whereas lower segment dilates and becomes thinner to accommodate the descending fetal parts. And patient feels the pains. Retraction ring is clinically significant whenever there is dystocia. This ring becomes prominent, more and more dilatation of the lower segment and more retraction of upper segment, and this physiological ring gradually travels upwards in the abdomen and it becomes pathological and it is called Bandel's ring. The clinical significance of lower uterine segment is that whenever cesarean section is done, lower segment is being cut and baby is delivered out from lower segment. When placenta attaches to lower segment, it is called placenta previa. it is quite a risky and difficult situation for the conducting obstetrician as well as for the patient. And Pendel's ring we already stage. Once fetus has expelled, third stage starts. In the third stage, after for some time there is quiescent stage. After that, as uterus has contracted and retracted, placenta will not contract and retract. There is decrease in the area of placental implantation, and so gradually placental expulsion and by buckling up of placenta and separation and expulsion starts. When when we do the active management of third stage labor, we stretch the cord and remove the placenta by controlled contraction. When centrally it is a Schultz method, and marginally, that it separates from marginal, it is called Matthew Duncan's method. Controlled contraction is also being used, and 300 ml of blood loss is being expected during placental removal. Once placenta is removed, uterus contracts fully. How bleeding stops? The uterine muscles, they passes crisscross, and in between them uterine vessels are there. So once the muscles contracts and retracts, these blood vessels are being compressed and blood loss from uterine surface, which is raw, is stopped, and that is why uterine muscles are also called living ligatures. The mechanism of labor. Let us go to the mechanism of labor. The definition: mechanism of labor is a series of changes which occurs in the position and attitude which fetus undergoes during its passage through the birth canal. That is called mechanism of labor, and this has been counted as the most difficult journey of life. What is the importance of these fontanelle is we are going to discuss later on for understanding labor. Now, which are the cardinal movements of mechanism? The first is engagement of the fetus head, descent, flexion, internal rotation, extension, restitution, and external rotation. The first one, engagement. The engagement occurs when the largest diameter of fetal head fits into the largest diameter of maternal pelvis. So usually fetal head engages, it moves towards the pelvic brim, either on the left or right occipito-transverse position. And this allows widest part of the fetal head to fit in the widest part of the pelvic inlet. After engagement, descent occurs. Descent is basically this figure shows the level of engagement of fetal head in the pelvic cavity. Okay, the engaging diameter is the AP diameter, which vary according to the degree of flexion or extension. In a well-flexed head, the suboccipitopragmatic diameter engages, that is 9.4 centimeter, and the diameter of pelvic inlet in which the head engages is either oblique or transverse, may be left or right. Now for engagement, this suboccipitophragmatic diameter, it is completely above the pelvic brim. We call it 5/5 head palpable, just above the pelvic brim. When sinciput is high and occiput is felt, it is 4/5 palpable. This is little bit lower down. It is 3/5 palpable of fetal head. This is 2/5 palpable, 1/5 palpable and 0/5 palpable when none of the head is palpable for abdominal. Now descent. This baby descent through the pelvic inlet towards the pelvic floor. So descent occurs throughout the labor. It is a continuous process. Why it occurs? Because of uterine contractions, amniotic fluid pressure and abdominal muscle contraction also. Maximum descent occurs in the deceleration phase of the first stage of labor and in the second stage. Flexion. After engagement of the head and little bit of descent, as the fetal head during progress of labor, as fetal head comes into contact with the pelvic floor, there is cervical flexion occurs, and this allows the presenting part of the fetus, that is suboccipitophragmatic, to comes behind the pubic symphysis, and in this position fetal skull has a smaller diameter and this assists the passage through the pelvis. After flexion comes the internal rotation. The pelvic floor has a gutter-like shape. It is forward and downward. So with contraction, the head rotates from left or right occipito-transverse position into an occipito-anterior position. So now occiput lies behind the pubic symphysis. Why internal rotation occurs? The inlet of the cavity of pelvis is transversely oval. So there is now initially at the inlet more space was in the transverse diameter. As we go down, more space available in the anteroposterior diameter, and that is why fetus has to rotate to accommodate itself. The head has to enter the inlet in the transverse diameter and it rotates to the AP diameter. When the occiput touches to the pelvic floor with the elastic recoil of the levator ani muscles, the head rotates and occiput lies towards the symphysis, and usually this occurs at the level of ischial spine. Just before delivery of the head. When biparietal diameter now which has reached to the vulval outlet and it stretches the vulval outlet without receding, it is called crowning. As you can see in the figure, the anus also gets compressed and we can see the anal mucosa also, and there is excretion of the feces and the urine due to extreme pressure at this point. At this point, either right or left side, we give mediolateral episiotomy. Rotation. This is a good figure which shows the head is floating before the engagement in the pelvis. Then head engages with the contraction, flexion occurs, descent is a continuous process. With progress, as the head reaches the lower portion of the pelvis, there is internal rotation. With internal rotation, occiput lies beneath the pubic symphysis. With that, after internal rotation, as the head reaches the outlet, extension starts. With the complete extension, delivery of the head of the baby occurs. After delivery, there is restitution occurs. With the rotation of shoulders, which similar occurs as movement occurs to shoulders as in head, again there is rotation occurs, external rotation, and then delivery of the anterior shoulder followed by posterior shoulder and rest of the baby. Thank you very much.